In my previous video, I answered the famous question, who would win, a samurai or a knight? I came to the conclusion that the knight would always have the upper hand in battle, since the Europeans had better technology in general when compared to the Japanese. Though my answer was correct, it felt as if I explained it too simply. So is time. I will explain it thoroughly rather than simply. Last time, I compared the samurai stereotype to the knight stereotype. A samurai wearing Tessei Gusoku whilst wielding a katana, and a knight wearing Gothic plate whilst wielding a longsword. Now, obviously, my comparison wasn't the best, as I only compared two types of armor and to different weapons. To do our best, we will look at different arms and armor from multiple time periods, starting off with the 10th century. Knights would look close to something like this. The spear would be their primary weapon and an arming sword as their secondary. Their common use of the kite shield is already a massive advantage when compared to the samurai, as they rarely used shields. They were adorned in chainmail from head to toe and wore nasal helmets which were quite effective. Let's see a 10th century samurai. Ji-Yoroi was first created during this period. The armor would be made out of small overlapping steel plates. The samurai would likely be wielding a tochi, yumi, and yari. Now this armor was designed for ranged combat, which makes it inherently less protective than the knight's armor. If a 10th century samurai and a 10th century knight were to clash in a duel, the knight would have the upper hand. This would be due mainly to his shield, as it can block arrows and incoming attacks. Plus, the samurai has less overall defense. Though, since they both have spears, it would mostly depend on skill. Overall, the battle is in favor of the knight. On to the 14th century. During this period, knights would be wearing this. As we can see, the Europeans' armor evolved quite a lot. There is much more plate and a houndskull helmet designed for deflecting arrows. He would likely have a spear for his primary, a longsword for his secondary, and a heater shield. Now, a samurai would look something like this. The new armor, Dimaru, clearly is much like the Ji-Yoroi, but much more protective. The samurai would likely have the same weapons: a tochi, a yumi, and a yari. The arms and legs now have great protection, having the ability to make blades slide right off, just like the knight's armor. However, compared to the knight, the samurai has much less protection overall. Now, if a 14th century samurai fought a knight of the same period, the battle would once again be in favor of the knight. Now, this would be due to the knight being fully covered and having a shield. But remember, it comes down to skill. The samurai could possibly take down the knight, though it would be highly unlikely. Now, onto the 16th century. During the 16th century, both knight and samurai armor would have reached their peak. For the Europeans now had full plate, and the Japanese had Tessei Gusoku. Let's take a look, starting with the knights. They wore Milanese or Gothic full-plate armor. The image shown is Milanese. This here is Gothic plate. Clearly, both armors are insanely protective, having just about the same body coverage when comparing the two together. A knight during this period would possibly be wielding a poleaxe, a longsword, and a dagger. Now, let's check in on the samurai. The samurai would be adorned in Tessei Gusoku. As you can see, there is full body coverage consisting of mostly steel plates. The samurai would possibly be equipped with a katana, a yari, and a wakizashi. If a 16th century knight and a 16th century samurai were to come across each other, the knight would still have the advantage in battle. This is because, unlike the samurai, his body is fully covered in steel, and his weapons are much more technologically advanced. Yes, the samurai could win, but it would be very unlikely. I will not be including the 18th century since knights stopped existing during the 1600s. So, the overall consensus is that a knight would have the battle in their favor no matter the period. To officially answer the question, who would win, a samurai or a knight? The knight would most likely be the winner, no matter the time period. If you watched this whole video, thank you. I appreciate your interest. If I got anything wrong, please inform me in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.